Good morning, everyone. I am Crystal Hinkle. I am part of the team here at Syncro, and welcome to Open Office Hours. And we have a special guest today, and we are very excited about that. And just to start off, we'll just we'll do a little intro. So again, I'm Crystal. I'm part of the team here, and go for it, Tatiana.
Hi everyone, I'm Tatiana. I'm also doing sales for the Syncro team.
Hi guys, I'm Brandy and I am the third member of the Syncro sales team.
So yes, thank you so much for joining us. We've got Matt here today, and we're really excited to be able to ask him questions. We want you also to be able to ask whatever questions you might have for Matt as we're going along. I've opened up the Q&A as probably the best form to ask those questions, just so that we can organize them and filter through them much easier and hopefully get to all of those questions. But for now, again, I'm just going to hand it over. I'd like to introduce Matt. So would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and how you found Syncro?
Hey guys, so my name is Matt Jones, coming from North Carolina, just south of Raleigh, if you know where that is. Found Syncro, gosh, Crystal would have to tell you how many years ago it was now, because it started with Repair Shopper. I had a couple of break fix locations, and then of course, as soon as Syncro came out, we immediately got emails going, hey, look at this new thing. We've been using it now for about 8 months, I think, and not looking back, so it's been great.
That's awesome. Yeah, you really quite an early adopter of Repair Shopper, so it's been a really fun journey. And it's crazy because, you know, we talk to each other over the phone and we're doing screen shares, but we actually got to meet Matt in Orlando a month ago. And so it was just kind of fun to kind of build that relationship out a little bit further as well. And so you kind of answered this question. You found out about Syncro essentially because you were already using Repair Shopper. Cool. So it just kind of was a natural transition. So for those of you that don't know, you know, we do have a different product that's more of just that break fix PSA type of product. And so it's a lot of times it's a very natural transition to go from Repair Shopper to Syncro. Let's see here. If you don't mind, how long have you been an MSP, and maybe like how did you get into this business just in general?
So I got into the business in 2011 when I had been laid off for the second time and was tired of that BS and said, I'm going to start my own IT company. So like most people, I knew the stuff, and I'm just going to open a business, and it's going to flood with people with broken computers, and I'm going to be rich, and it's going to be wonderful. So I found a building that was 30 feet by 30 feet and was about 30 feet off the road, and put up the biggest sign I could put on the front of it without getting in trouble. I think I would have gotten in trouble if someone checked. It was too big. But, you know, computer repair. And I was working like 8 to 8, Monday through Saturday, doing virus removals and OS reloads and all this kind of stuff, and thought I was killing it. And some of those people are going, hey, well, I've got a business too. Can you come there and check this, that, or the other? And so then we're putting that sign on the door that we're going to be back someday, because we don't know when, and we're out looking at this business and stuff. And then that turned into, well, heck, I can charge a little more money for this than we're charging to do a virus removal or to change an iPhone screen or whatever. So that got us looking at what is now the MSP model. But it really, in truth, it was 4 to 5 years before I even heard that term or thought about getting somebody on a managed plan like most of us are doing now. It was just trying to get that 125 an hour one-off for stuff that was broke.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I think sometimes that transition, it's kind of like an interesting thought process, because it's a total change in thought process. It's going from like one job to the next to, you know, getting that monthly reoccurring invoice with, you know, stuff that's coming in automatically, which is awesome. So right now, in your city, what type of businesses are you servicing? Do you have like a specific niche, or is it all over the place?
So the first company that called us and said, hey, would you be interested in quoting our network out? They didn't have anything broken. They just wanted to talk. It was an optometrist. And a funny story, I'm actually in their office right now. You can see the eye care stuff behind me.
Oh.
But anyway, so this was 5+ years ago now. And just luck of the draw, this has been no marketing from us or anything else. I have 25 optometry offices. But then we have attorneys, we have car dealerships, we have CPAs, family medical. We're all over the board. I know some people concentrate in one area. We have not, but that optometry thing is just kind of fell in our lap. It's kind of funny.
That is kind of funny how that happens. So for those of you, I think we might have had a few kind of just joining in here since we started. Again, this is Matt. He has transitioned his business from break fix to full managed services, like just out there killing it. So we're talking to him about how he's done that. But I just want to encourage you all, if you have questions as we're kind of talking through some of these things, to use the Q&A, because Matt's here. Any questions that you have, and also with that said, if it's more Syncro related or feature related, feel free to ask those questions too, because we're happy to share our screen and kind of divert that way as well. So feel free to do that. But I'm going to hand it over. I think Tatiana's got some questions.
I do. So one of the first ones I had is, what would you say is the biggest challenge you faced during the migration process to an MSP from that break fix model, and how did you overcome it?
Gosh, we are still figuring out and overcoming it, if I'm being honest. So, when we signed that first client and we're kind of talking to them and filling it out, we're going, wait, I can charge just like per user or per workstation and per server, and we can have this recurring revenue coming in every month. That's great. And we signed the one, and we were happy to have the one, but the one's not paying the bills. I've still got, X amount of dollars coming in on the break fix side, and I can't just go, okay, well, we're not doing this anymore.
Right.
And even adding the second one, the third one, the fifth one, the 20th one, we're at a place where we still have a retail store that's doing break fix.
Wow.
And this is 5 years into actual us doing MSP. And part of that is, up until 8 months ago, we didn't know how to market. We thought we knew what marketing was because we had pretty business cards and nice brochures and the best website you've ever seen, and it has all these flashy things that turn and move. But that wasn't getting us business. In fact, the only time we were getting new MSP clients is if I opened a new retail shop doing break fix in the area, and people would see that. We actually got to 4 of those at one point, and we would get some MSP just from that. And then, but we would still have, 90% of the business would be walk-in traffic to that retail location. So to answer the question, the transition is still happening. Now, we've ran into some programs now where we're learning how to actually market. That's been one of the bigger things, and that has got me down to from 4 retail locations now to 1.
Wow.
And I'm actually, as of a week ago, looking to get rid of that 1. So it's been a challenge. All of them, really marketing has been the big one, really, to be honest with you. It's we figured out how to do good work and have a good model, and it's just been to spread that without opening a retail store to do it. Because of course, that's expensive.
Super interesting. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I guess, so if you could offer one piece of advice to an MSP, what would it be?
So we're talking about someone that wants to transition. I guess first you could do it. I had got to a point, I guess in July, where if I'm being honest, we had really hit a slum. We were sitting gross company-wide at this $250,000 mark, and we went back over the years, and it didn't matter if I was at 4 retail locations or 1 plus the MSP stuff we had built. We were still very close to that number.
Oh, interesting.
And we were like, oh my gosh, what do we do? How do we get past? I guess we need to go knock on some doors some more and hand out some more of these pretty business cards, and that's going to do it. And it was really us looking further into some better marketing for ourselves, and I guess some accountability groups in the industry. That has helped us more than anything in growth to get to that MSP side. But we've learned in that process that it's not like we did anything special or we had some different story. Most of us guys are in the same boat when it comes to that you probably do break fix for a little bit and you get stuck and you don't know what to do. Like a big part of it's marketing, I'll say, and without doing too much of a plug, but if anybody wants to reach me directly and I can give you kind of more intricate answer and details and things of specifics of what we've done, I'll be happy to do that as well.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, so what would you say would be your favorite thing about Syncro specifically now that you are migrated over, you are pursuing more of the MSP model? What would you say is kind of the thing that is the most useful to you?
So the first thing I think most of us look for and that jumped out at me is it's one pane of glass, right? I can remember getting the email that, hey, here's Syncro, it exists. And I was driving down the road and actually pulled over to the side of the road to look at it again and said, finally, I don't have to log into a ticketing system and a PSA system and an RMM. It's one pane of glass. It's going to be so much better. And it is. It's beautiful to have that in one place. And then just the way everything talks because of it. If there's an error, I get a ticket. And half the stuff, if not more, I can script an automation to take care of the error, email the customer just like if it was me at 2 o'clock in the morning, resolve the ticket, and I wake up in the next morning while I'm sipping coffee, go, cool.
Done.
Yeah.
Awesome. That is so cool. I mean, definitely the automation is one of the favorite things that people are drawn to with Syncro, especially with it being a single pane of glass and having the ticketing on the same platform as the RMM, with the scripting, with the automated remediation. But if you were to say one specific feature or one specific maybe automation, sounds like, what would you say is the absolute game changer for you, and how do you utilize it within Syncro, like more specifically?
I think the one that, at least on our end, that runs more than anything is when viruses are detected. And even we've seen some bigger ones because we use the Bitdefender Gravity Zone integration. It finds something, it fires a ticket, it lets the customer know, hey, this is what we found, we've created a ticket, we're working on it. And 99% of the time, it removes it for me. It sends the customer a nice another note and says, hey, this is removed, and it's closed. And that seems to be the one that runs more than anything.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. You talked a little bit about marketing and how it's kind of affected your business, and that has been kind of the key to growth. So specifically, my next question was, how do you get more clients? But it sounds like just moving from that break fix type of mentality to trying to attract customers that are going to be on a monthly basis. Is there anything more specific marketing related wise of advice you can give to people who are currently maybe doing both the break fix and trying to move into the MSP world of, how do they get more clients?
Probably the biggest thing for us is to really think outside of the box. And I know that's kind of generic, but I think a lot of us have gotten into the habit of some of our systems and automation when it comes to the tech side. And so, like marketer in Syncro, we think, oh, we're going to load this full of emails and we're going to send out some pretty emails with pretty graphics and offer free 2 hours of service, and then everybody's going to open it and they're going to click it and write. But, if we think just ourselves, our emails getting flooded every day with thousands and thousands of emails. So like one of the things that has been good for us is backwards, I'll call it, and go to direct mail. We send out a monthly newsletter every month. We send out some postcards for some different things, and those are getting a better response than any of our email marketing, just because nobody's doing it anymore. It's different. And we've picked up some tricks. We send out a couple letters, one in particular is in like a red and white envelope with some bullseyes on it. It looks like a package from Target if you saw it. So
That's awesome.
if I send it to a doctor or a practice owner, the secretary is going to get it and they're going to go, oh, well, they ordered something from Target. Let me put that on their desk. Versus it's an IT solicitation. Let me throw it in the trash can. And it actually makes it to their desk. They open it, they look at it, they read it, and we're getting a better response with stuff like that.
Unreal. I love that. So I guess more thinking outside the box to marketing, not just doing what you think would usually work, but just really kind of going above and beyond and catching the interest of future clients. I love that. That's huge.
Yeah, it's like we're lazy. You know, we think, well, we are. It's like,
That's
let me
smart.
go knock on some more doors before lunch, and then I'll go to Taco Bell. Well, you don't want anybody knocking on your door, so it's not going to do any good to go knock on theirs. You know,
Right.
unless if you walk in when their computer's down and they've got a headache, sure, but the chances of that happening are slim to none.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's crazy because that question actually just answered one of our first questions here in the Q&A, which was, what has been your most successful marketing campaign? I'm not saying maybe the mailers have been the most successful, but it was asking, are you doing email marketing campaigns in Syncro or something else that has been more successful? So I was just curious, do you use mailer at all within Syncro at this point?
We do not.
Okay. Yeah. And for those of you, what I figured I would do just really quickly, I'm just going to take like a quick moment and I'm going to share my screen and I just want to show you what Ari's talking about. So I'm going to move. Our faces always get in the way of like what I'm trying to do when I'm like the Zoom faces, they're like always in the way of what I'm trying to do.
Right.
Anyway, so I'm going to go to mailer here really quickly because I just want to show you since we're kind of on the topic of marketing, there's a lot of things you can do here with mailer. And so I'll just go to a custom campaign. We give you kind of some cool campaigns just as ideas, but the main thought process here is you can have things that are like triggered mailings where if you want to send out an email like 2 weeks after a ticket's closed or something, just to check in, hey, how's it going? That kind of thing. You have the option to do triggered mailings. You also have the option to do like one-time blast emails, whether that's like offering a discount or like checking in. Like one of the things that was pretty popular was Windows 7 machines need to be updated, right? So sending out a mass email for Windows 7 machines. So that was kind of one of those things. But what I think is really phenomenal, and I'm not going to take too much time with this, but I want to show, you have the ability to send it to either a saved customer search or a saved asset search. So for example, this saved customer search, I'll show this to you as well as the asset search, but you can get a very granular subset of either customers or assets and send out an email, which is super helpful. So from the assets and RMM screen, this is where you go and that you can use this little magnifying glass over here to create a saved asset search. So if you haven't seen this yet, this is where you can get a very granular search of specific assets to be able to send out a mass email. When it comes to the customer side, again, this sometimes gets just totally missed that this is here. This little saved asset search, you can get very granular because you can filter by custom fields. So if you are in that transition and you have like residential customers or break fix customers or whatever that might be, and you want to send out a campaign saying, hey, it's been a pleasure doing business for you. How about let's catch those things before it breaks, essentially. You could send out, a mass email based upon that saved customer search. So just wanted to make sure to kind of show that before we moved on from that. So thanks for bearing with me on that one. Let's see here. One question for you, Matt. When you bring on some new business, what's your method of deploying endpoints?
When it gets to that point, I'm trying to make sure I'm answering this correctly. I mean, really, we manually one-off go to each one and run the agent.
Yeah.
We've got different policies, and normally at this point, we will create a policy specific for that customer. A lot of the reason for that is, say I'll look at one workstation and it's got an old version of Semantic on it. It's got somebody else's team viewer on it. things like that. So we will add removal scripts for those things in that customer's policy, you know, power settings, all that kind of stuff, and just go to each one manually and make sure they run.
Awesome. Very good. And it's kind of funny because I think that you've been kind of talking about this in a lot of different ways based upon what I know about your business. But the next question is, have you used Robin Robbins? And I think you can go ahead and share that journey, because that's actually the conference that we met Matt at.
Yep.
So I think that's absolutely fine to go ahead and kind of, you know, tell your journey there too, if you'd like.
Yeah, definitely. That was our big game changer. That is what brought us kind of out of our slum. And it's a funny story because it wasn't like I just said, ooh, I need Robin Robbins. I didn't get a marketing campaign from them and open it and go, wow, this is it, take my credit card. That is not at all what happened. I got an envelope from them last July, red envelope. So I opened it because it's red, right? Kind of like the Target thing I was talking about. Had a dollar bill, fresh, brand new, crisp dollar bill, staked to the top of it. I never read a word of anything in the packet. I just said, this is great marketing to get somebody to look at this because it's got a dollar bill, but not me, and I don't have time, so let me put this on my desk, and later I will look at it. In one of those days you have where work is just pounding you and you don't know what to do, so you do what everybody does when you don't know what to do. You sit down and look at Facebook and watch stupid stuff that's not making you any money. And so I found a group it was like one of those IT MSP owner groups that a lot of us are in, and saw a topic and saw a guy that answered the topic, and he had this crazy profile picture. He was like, rah! And I'm like, what? Let me click on this. He had some crazy answers and stuff. The guy had a YouTube channel that was full of things about his business, but he'd talk about his business for 2 minutes, and then he would talk about life and how he grew this and how they're doing this. I spent 2 hours watching the guy's YouTube channel and got hyped about my business from watching him. And I'm like, what is he doing? And he keeps talking about these accountability groups, and I've been to Nashville for this and Nashville for that. After like a week of reverse engineering, I finally found this picture of him and Damon John and this RR logo in the background. And it finally smacked me in the face that that was the same logo I saw on this packet in this red envelope that I had got, like, you know, however long before, and went back to my desk and found it and read it and figured out what it was. And we literally joined Robin Robbins that day. I was in Nashville within 2 weeks of that, in what they call a rapid program. So you come out of rapid and you do 90 days of web calls on Zoom, kind of like we're doing now, and you have this accountability and steps, and they walk you through how to market an MSP. And at the end of that, you write an essay of all the wonderful things that you did. And it was working for us so well, I didn't have time to write an essay. This wasn't happening. If you won, you got all this cool stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's great, but I don't have time. The day the essay was due, 2 appointments canceled on me, and they weren't sales or anything, so it was no big deal. And I said, okay, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna write this essay of everything we've learned over the last 90 days, and I'm just gonna submit it. It took me an hour and a half, something like that. And you know, this is one of those things when you're in class and 4 weeks before that, your teacher's like, now work on your essay, and yeah, wasn't happening. And submitted it, and then I got a call. It was probably 6 to 8 weeks later, which was longer than normal, but they had some other stuff going on, and they said, are you sitting down? And I said, yeah, I'm sitting down. I'm at the drive-thru in Chick-fil-A trying to order some food. What's going on? And she's like, well, you won first prize. And I'm like, yeah, that's funny. What would you really call me for? And we did. We won. My essay that I did in an hour last minute won first place. But it was me thinking, there's no way I'm going to win this. There's no way we haven't done as good as the next guy. You know, we've done okay. We've had some results, but no, I mean, once we sit down and actually looked at it, we had phenomenal results from that. So yeah, Robin's program is awesome.
That's good. I like that story. So modest about the award too, by the way. It was like, I even like, I saw him like probably like an hour before that award was given away, and he didn't even mention that that was happening. And I was like, what? So anyway, it's kind of a big deal. I've got a question here. Wondering, how do you structure your pricing for your MSP customers?
Currently, we are charging per workstation and per server. And then, long as they're at what I'll say is a decent level, we're throwing everything else in at that point. We've heard of other guys kind of doing, this for printers and some other stuff in there too. We've never done that. And it's an all-you-can-eat with us. And that has sold better, even projects. And so what I mean by that is, if we're managing somebody, this place I'm in, this eye care place, is kind of a good example. They've got 25 workstations, 2 servers, but we manage their security cameras. We manage 2 digital signage displays, all kinds of other stuff, but we just charge them for the workstations and the servers, and they just kind of take care of everything they need at that point. That being said, we're looking at shifting that to probably per user on the workstation side, and then just keeping a per server and taking care of them that way. I think that's kind of where the industry's going, but we haven't done it yet.
Interesting. That's awesome. While I have the opportunity here, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to share my screen just really quickly because I want to show those folks that are here and that maybe aren't as familiar with Syncro or getting to know it, maybe not using the billing yet, whatever that might be. I just wanted to bring up a reoccurring invoice to just show you that when it comes to per endpoint billing, whether it's per workstation or per server, we have a very nice and streamlined process for doing that. You can obviously choose if you're billing in monthly, in advanced, or in arrears, and there's several settings here. But what I wanted to show is that this asset and RMM counter and this RMM package counter, these are both dynamic counters that you can charge per endpoint. So like what Matt is describing is that if you do like per endpoint billing, you can create that as like a product or a service and say, maybe for workstations, I don't know what it would be, but say you're charging this. You can either charge, like if you charge the same thing for everything that had an endpoint, like an agent deployed on it, you could use the asset type of Syncro device, but you can also use these saved asset searches. So just another place that saved asset search comes into play, because as Matt mentioned, he's billing one thing for workstation. So he could create one line item here, add that to the template for the workstations, and then come in here and do it again for the servers. And this is a dynamic counter. So it's going to go out and it's going to grab all those workstations. So if that person does hire on a new employee and you go out and deploy another endpoint, it will automatically update your reoccurring invoice. So just wanted to kind of show that while we were there. And one question that we had, so I just want to make sure that there's clarification there. I think we asked the question, transitioning from break fix to managed services, and you are absolutely, you mentioned you're still in that transition phase. You mean you're still in that transition phase just as a business in general, not actually a transition phase in Syncro? Like you're pretty set in Syncro at this point, right? Like
yep,
set up and
absolutely.
Good? Okay, cool.
So when Syncro came up, we were using Repair Shopper. If you don't know what Repair Shopper is, the way I describe it is it's the exact same thing. It doesn't have the R&M. For lack of a better explanation. So we were using it to run our retail stores. And when we first got that email in Repair Shopper, we had locations, and we had created an additional location for our MSP stuff. And I called Troy and Ian and said, great, so move me over and I'm going to have my location. So I'm going to have my break fix and my MSP and everything together, right? And everybody said, no. That's not the way it's going to work. And I was a butthead and fought it for a long time because I was trying to get back to, like I said earlier, that single pane of glass and this magic one solution. And I made things a lot more difficult in my head, and we do that a lot, especially as techs. As of probably last July when my head had cleared up and we had figured out why it was going to be two different products and Repair Shopper in one and Syncro for the MSP stuff. It made a lot more sense and we just made the move.
Awesome. Really good. Let's get back. I think we've got a couple other in the Q&A and we will absolutely get back to those. We've got a few other questions here that we want to make sure that we get through too, and I'm going to hand it over to Brandy.
Perfect. Awesome. So for our next set of questions, I'll just start with, what is your strategy to demonstrate your value to prospects or existing clients? I know that's a really important part, a really important piece. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
And it's funny because I feel like it's something I knew how to do and then I locked in my head somewhere and forgot. So if I give you way too much information and a little bit more backstory, I did not want to be a computer tech. My dad worked on computers in the Air Force. He left there, went to IBM. He's at IBM now still. He was always like, Matt, you're working on computers, right? Because they were at the house before I could walk. That's all I did. I didn't play sports. I was in front of the computer all the time, knew them inside and out. No, I went into broadcasting. So decided I wanted to be a DJ and worked for 2 different broadcasting companies and had a mobile DJ business and all this kind of stuff. If you Google enough, you'll figure out what the DJ name was. We're not going to say it now because then we'll laugh for the next 30 minutes and we won't get anything done. But that you had to learn how to be a celebrity, right? And how to be a credible person, how to be the people that you're the person that people are going to hire to do a party or to be on the radio. I worked for 3 different 100,000-watt radio stations where, I'm old now, but I've DJ'd for Ludacris and I DJ'd for Eminem back in the day in the area. And those were big things. And then when I transitioned and all that went away and 2008 happened and the economy tanked, IT was stable and broadcasting was syndicating everything they could. That's what happened there. But it's like I got into being a computer guy and I never worried about making myself the authority. I just assumed, again, that I'm going to make this pretty business card and this pretty website and everybody's going to find it. And they're going to know it's me, even though my face isn't on it. And they're going to love me and then call me and all the money's just going to come in. So the big thing is in showing value is showing that I know what I'm doing, that I'm the credible guy, and not to be, to the cocky point about it, but at least the confident point about it, that you can get the job done. And how to do that, we've revamped our website a little bit. We had this really flashy website, like I said, with scrollers and images and all this stuff, but it was fluff. And if you went to it, it would take you 2 hours to go through all of it. And we dumbed that way down and said, no, look, these are the issues and we can fix those issues. And this is who I am. This is who we are. This is what our mission statement is. And kind of just back up and simplify a little bit. And now we're doing some extracurricular things, things like this. We're doing a lot of webinars and seminars and not even looking for anything new or crazy content to talk about. We're doing a little bit in cybersecurity now, but a lot of people just want to get on and hear about how to fix their computer or what network equipment is best and just the simple things and doing those and not just hiding in the office and hoping the phone rings.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So I know you've talked about this a little bit on how you onboard your customers as far as deploying the agents, but is there anything else you like to add to the actual onboarding of the clients themselves?
Our onboarding process is horrible. We do not have that golden checklist that probably some of you guys come up with first. And it was funny, our team just kind of had a meeting about this morning because we onboarded somebody 3 months ago and there was a couple like tiny small things that we forgot that the client's kind of bringing up to us now. And that's part of us still being in that transition, right? We're still getting of all the questions that we need to ask. And part of that is me getting from that working in the business to working on the business. Thing that people talk about you need to do. So it's a lot of times somebody will call and say, hey, this is broke and we'll say, okay, great, we can fix it for this much an hour, but that's me robbing you. Let's go ahead and set up an MSP plan and get you all inclusive. And if they jump on that right away, I just jump in and start installing agents like right then or the next day or something. And then we're kind of figuring it out after the fact, which isn't the optimum thing. And we know it, but that's kind of where we're at the moment.
Okay, awesome. So the next thing is going to deal a little bit more with Syncro and your experience and things that have made your business run more efficiently. So are there certain things that you found with the system that have helped you to run your business more efficiently?
Billing has got to be a big one.
Okay.
And we have been spoiled. So if I back up and tell you why I even got Repair Shopper in the first place, it was because it printed labels.
Okay.
So we had a store and we would create an estimate in QuickBooks. Anytime anybody brought anything in, we'd print 2 of them. And I'd hand one to the customer and I would tape the other one to the computer and hope to God that it didn't fall off or the tech didn't lose it or whatever. And I said, man, I just want something that prints a label with the customer's information on it. So when I check something in, I can put that label on the device and I don't have to type anything. Repair Shopper was the first thing that I found that did that. And so because of that change, and this was 2013, I think, billing for us at that point, there was no recurring because we're just doing break fix. So when recurring billing and things like that from the MSP side came up, we were already in a platform that had that ability. Syncro has the same recurring billing. And I see people all the time on the internet talking about, I don't know what to do about my billing. I'm behind on this invoice. I forgot to bill this. And I'm just sitting here kind of taking it for granted going, I've never had billing problems. What are you guys talking about? Like, you're not using Syncro? So yeah.
Awesome. Great to hear. So what is something, if there's something that you recently discovered that you never knew was there in the platform?
Recently discovered that I never knew was there.
Unless you know it all.
I don't know it all. Sometimes I think I know it all, and I'll get on the Facebook group and make myself look silly. No, the big one for me lately, and I just spoke to Crystal about this, is the whole leads and into tickets. We wanted our cake and we wanted to be able to eat it too. So we wanted tickets to come in, right? If it was a customer or if we had that rule set up. So if it was a person on our customer's email domain and they sent in an email and it was for a customer already in the system, we wanted to make a ticket. And if it was from Susie Chin from superiPhoneScreens.com, I didn't want it to make a ticket. I didn't want to lead, but hey, we'll take that. We couldn't have our cake and eat it too, but I can now because there's a nice little checkbox that says only make a ticket if there's an existing customer, and they've got that on the screen, and that has made my life so much easier, and I know other people too, because I think we're still in the process of going through and deleting some unwanted contacts and tickets. So that's been a big one for us in the last couple of days, because we do have that support at email address plastered everywhere, and spammers grab it real quick.
Great. I think that concludes my questions. I think you already answered the billing model throughout earlier. So that's all that I have. Crystal, if you want to.
Awesome. Well, cool. Yeah. I think this is such a funny story because I was literally just on the phone with Matt the other day, kind of just getting prepped for this. And he's like, hey, by the way, this doesn't seem to be like working very well. This mailbox, it was like creating a bunch of customers. And I was like, because a lot of times what's kind of fun is our accounts, we see what's coming new, like maybe a few days before it's actually live on production. And I was like, well, why don't you just have this setting applied, Matt? And he's like, I don't have that setting. And I was like, oh, and then I found out and it was released like the next day, which was really exciting. So if you haven't seen this in our mailbox, this is a really nice new addition to keep everything clean. And this kind of piggybacks off of the question that we have here in the Q&A. So one thing I'll just note, and then I'll kind of ask the question to Matt, is that one thing to note here, if you have this selected only for existing customers, what happens if someone emails that email address that's not a customer, it just will show up in your leads module. And from here, you can decide whether you want to, process that as a ticket or just create them as a customer, that kind of thing. So that's just letting you know kind of what happens on the back end there with that setting. And then the next part of that question is for you, Matt, like if you do get a new lead, obviously you'd probably see it here in Syncro, but what is your what are your methods to track that lead and where they're at in their stage of your sales, I guess, pipeline?
So we use Infusionsoft to do most of that tracking at this point. And that comes back to Robin Robbins, if anybody's familiar with that. She will customize it for you. If you Google it, you're going to see a lot of things called Confusionsoft, which is it, because it is a beast. It is nowhere near as easy to use as the tracking that's in Syncro. But it has some extra automation stuff in place with some other campaigns that we're running, and we're doing some more advanced stuff at this point. But now if you send an email to like support@geekit.us is ours, it is going straight to Syncro's leads, and then we funnel from there, whether it's lead or ticket. And 90% of that is clients making tickets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that I've actually talked through this with several people just as of late, because, Syncro does track, leads. You can use, there's a level of utilization with contracts, because you can mark contracts and have them as different stages as well. But one thing that I've talked with a few users, like I said, just recently, is like the question is, should I leave them as a lead? Should I create them as a customer? Should I open a contract for them? Like, how should I track my customers? And, Syncro, we're super transparent. It's not a full CRM. It's not gonna, it's not gonna have all of those features that like Infusionsoft would have. However, if you're looking to try to keep things in one local place, I have a few just kind of like ideas that can be somewhat helpful. And that would be, again, utilizing these custom fields. Custom fields can be whatever you want them to be. And if you spin up a trial, like you won't even see this section. So just knowing you can create custom fields, they can be anything you want, drop down, checkbox, just plain text fields. But where this comes into play, and this is where, again, I showed mailer earlier, but you could have a custom field where you can track where they're at in their process. So maybe you're like opportunity, contacted once, and maybe you want to contact again. Like you can have those as drop-down options in your custom fields. The reason that I kind of prefer to just create them as a customer as opposed to leaving them in the leads module is that you can do things like, you can email them straight from here, but you can create reminders. Hey, call this person in a week. You can do that. But again, if you utilize these custom fields and then you're on your customer section, like maybe you do have a sales team or someone that's managing all of the sales, you could have just over here in this pop-out, just an actual customer search that's like the different levels of the pipeline that people are in. So you're always keeping track of where everyone is. So again, for those of you that just had some, questions on maybe how you could utilize Syncro as somewhat of a CRM, that's a really great way to do it. Okie doke. So a few questions. One thing, Matt, just going to ask you, a couple folks want to hear or be able to read your winning essay. Do you want to give out your email address, or do you want me to coordinate that conversation or communication? You let me know. They're curious.
No, we can give it out. It's Matt, M-A-T-T, at geekit.us. So Matt
Awesome.
at geekit.us if you want to say Geekit. Now that being said, part of my winning that is it is getting published in a monthly newsletter for March. And I just spoke to them about that yesterday. So if nothing else, I may not send it to you now. A lot of the reason behind that, because it's horrible. I wrote it in an hour and a half, the typos and the grammar. If you look at it now, you're like, Oh my Lord, yeah, and it won. I don't know, but they're going to help me clean it up a little bit, and that's going to get published, and I'll have a PDF, and at that point, I'll be happy to send that out to anybody that wants to take a look.
Awesome. Really good. So on this next question, if you have responses and some input on this, that'd be awesome.
Sure.
If not, I can kind of attempt to tackle it as well. But the question is, they've been through Enable and Atera, which they still partially use. Now on Kaseya BMS, they say somewhat difficult and slow to fix substantial issues and features. They evaluated Syncro a couple years ago, like probably, it sounds like really close to launch time, and you know, maybe it wasn't.
Uh-oh, did she freeze?
Yeah, I can't hear Crystal any longer. I can finish reading that question unless, can you guys hear me okay?
And
I can
I'll
hear you,
see it.
Brandon.
I
Okay.
think I can jump in at this point. And so it you know, sounds like they've tried a couple different products. They're on something different now. They looked at Syncro 2 years ago. They didn't feel like it was the solution at this point. Any thoughts? So I have used what's now Enable's product that was a GFI back in the day, and the larger version of Enable. I've used Ninja. I know we've trialed Atera. Kaseya, I trialed for a day and looked at the interface and went, this looks like Narnia. I have no clue. And we never even looked. So I've looked at everything. And in fact, now on the break fix side, because of some changes that we've made, I'm looking at another piece of software that has nothing to do with MSP. And I've called the company and go, can we use Syncro instead? Because Syncro is so much easier to use. And you know, the development is insane. And if I go back to what I was saying earlier, when I first saw it, and I called Ian and Troy and said, hey, move me because everything's good. And they said, no, Matt, you know, we don't have this yet. We don't have that. And I said, well, what about a Screen Connect integration? And Ian said, no, we're doing our own remote software. We will never integrate with Screen Connect. You know, we don't have this yet. We don't have that. Well, 2 years later, yeah, they have all that. And Syncro listens to their community. They very much know that without us, they have nothing. And if we're happy, they have, you know, everything's great. We're not happy, they've got a problem. So you know, it's any other software company, like some of this stuff that's being implemented, I've seen support tickets hit and there be a solution within days. That will never happen with any of the other guys. And I don't want to bash anybody, but we're gonna. It just won't. So that's the big thing for us. The software makes sense. The flow makes sense. If there's a problem, I'm not going to have that problem for 6 months and try to buy another product and another product and another product to fix a problem here. You're not going to get that. And you know, again, you guys got my email. If you want to look at my Syncro, I'd be happy to show it to you and answer any questions on that front. Of course, the guys will give you a free demo as much as you want. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And too, you mentioned something about how the developers, they listen, we really do take features seriously, and we're shipping new features all of the time. I saw Ari had mentioned that you've already received your Feature Friday email for today. So looks like he's excited. The event viewer is now live in Syncro Live. So I know that's one of those features that people have asked for. So I'm surprised when you get off, you can go play around with that as well. I do see a question in here from Chris, and he's asking, aside from antivirus, what do you include in your all-you-can-eat offering for your customers?
At this point, like everything. The only thing we're not rolling into that currently that I think pops up off the top of my head are like, say, email hosting, which we have to do for most users at this point. That's one of the reasons we're looking at moving to a per user pricing model and not a per workstation pricing model. We're hosting email for almost all of our clients at this point, either through Office 365 or G Suite. And so we're looking at just, let's go ahead and put that into the all-you-can-eat pricing so that they have it and they know what it is, and it's not something that we're adding later. We used to make backup an add-on, but now we're to the point that if I, give them backup as a choice, it's only going to bite me later. That's the only thing that could ever happen. So we've rolled that in, and we rolled project pricing into that now too. So of course we're going to charge for hardware, but we don't even charge any labor, like if you want cameras installed or TVs or anything like that. So it literally is everything, and we've heard that sounds great, and we've heard you've lost your mind. But that's where we're at.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, hey. Welcome back, Crystal.
I'm like, I don't know if you guys can see this out here, but we're like in the middle of like a storm warning in Spokane, and my whole power just like went out, and I was like, I was probably talking for about 5 minutes to nobody. So sorry about that.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Real quick, we have a question in here from David. He says, we use N-Central. One of the handy things that we can do is grant a customer remote access to their own assets. In Syncro, would this require that a paid account be set up for that customer? So really good question. I'll share my screen here real quick just so you guys can see exactly what he's talking about. So within Syncro, yes, you do. You have the capability if you go to the admin section, and then under security groups, you can have a customer get access to their own endpoints. You do have to purchase a separate license for this. So honestly, when this was requested to our development team, it was built more for people who maybe work with independent contractors or maybe an internal IT department that only needs access to this specific set of machines. So currently, yes, if you're looking to utilize Syncro Live and you want your customer to only have access to their own endpoints, currently how our licensing is set up, they do have to purchase their own. And then obviously we do integrate with all the other remote access tools if you just wanted to do that, to do it directly that way as well.
And we've done that a couple different ways, depending on the situation. Like we've got a car dealership that we work with that they have their own internal IT team. So they want basically just as much access as we do. And so we give them a Syncro account for that. We've got some offices, say the operations manager wants to be able to remote in, but she just needs her machine, right? That's it. So we resell Citrix Go to My PC for her, and it's just on her machine, and it's her account, and all those kinds of things. And so there's lots of options there, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's and Ari was kind of saying too, like that he uses Splashtop Business to do that because you can allow access using like a third-party tool as well. Let's see, and this is one I'll just say it out there, but if we want to like either take it offline or anything like that, but the question was, you don't need to be specific, but do you have a range of what you charge for all of your all-you-can-eat?
Yeah, so I'm transparent, guys. Like seriously, you need anything, email me. But when we started, $25 a workstation, all you can eat, and a bunch of people just went, "What?" Yeah, $25 a workstation, all you can eat. And we have the most we've charged a workstation is $75. I'll say that. And our goal right now, depending on the client, the service area, all those kind of things, because we actually cover a good bit of the state, North Carolina, is to new clients that we're onboarding between 75 and 100 a seat is where we're at. Servers, we charge $150 a server. We've kind of done that from jump.
Awesome. Well, this has been really informative. I've really, I really enjoyed going through all of these questions, learning more about your business, and kind of, the DJ thing is I'm gonna hold that.
Currently trying to Google your DJ name, Matt. Just FYI, it's not as easy as you think, but I'm going to find it.
we're gonna hold that little tidbit. I think the Q&A is slowing down, unless I missed anything while I was offline there. But from here, I guess I just want to, first and foremost, thank you, Matt, so much for joining us today. This has been amazing. This has been recorded, so we will post that. I think we're going to post that on Facebook, because a lot of folks have been asking for it, but it'll probably hit the YouTube channel as well. If you're not already a member of the Facebook group, I highly recommend it. And also, because I think there's folks in here that range from maybe don't even have a trial to trialing to payers of Syncro. So if you're in those initial stages, feel free, obviously sign up for a free 30-day trial. If one of us are your sales representative, please reach out if you haven't had a demo. We're happy to provide that for you. We do these open office hours every single week. Normally they're at 9 a.m., but we do them every week, and you can hop in and ask whatever questions that you have. We'll talk about new features. We'll talk about just workflow questions, offer best practices, ping off of each other to kind of help through that process. So once again, happy Friday, everyone. Happy New Year. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and thank you, Matt, very much.
Hey, you guys want to see something fun?
Yeah.
Let's see if you guys can actually.
Oh my goodness. Yes. DJ Young Dirty, is that what I just saw? And Soldier Boy. Oh, yes.
That just made my whole weekend.
I think that just, topped the best open office hours that we have ever had.
Ours way up there.
Thank you all so much.
Hey, thanks, guys. It was fun.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good one.
Bye.